ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। श्रीभगवानुवाच 18th verse अन्तवन्त इमे देहाः नित्यस्योक्ताः शरीरिणः अनाशिनो प्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्व भारत. So we are seeing here basically the physical body is mithya and the nature of Atma also is revealed here. Anashinaha aprameyasya. Atma is aprameya, and that is what we are seeing. What is aprameya? Aprameya means it is not an object of knowledge. If it is not an object of knowledge, then definitely how will you know? Because right now we are studying so that in order to know the Atma, and here Bhagavan says it is not an object of knowledge, you cannot know it. Well, then we are understanding what does it mean by aprameya. And to know the Atma, basically the words of the Veda is a pramanam, being apaurushaya. Since it is not available, Atma is not available for perception. Atma is not available because it doesn't have a sound. It doesn't have a form. It doesn't have a touch. It doesn't have a smell, or it doesn't have a taste. So it is not perceptible through sense organs. Then definitely there is no question of inferring the Atma, there is no question of presuming the Atma, there is no similarity of Atma, because there is nothing other than Atma. To what you will compare? Even Akasha, etc., we give a comparison because a little similarity, not much, a little similarity. The very basic difference between a space and Atma is Akasha is Jadam, is inert, and Atma is a consciousness. So it's very opposite. But anyway, we give sometime a example of Akasha in order to explain the nature of Atma. But it is not a really a great similarity. And therefore, upamanam, etc. cannot be used. And absence, there is no question of absence, anupalabdhi, absence of a thing. But it's not an absence, it is all the time present. And then words of Veda, initially the Purva Vibhaga, that's the initial portion of the Veda also, gives a knowledge of pertaining to the sadhana and sadhya and means and the end. Well, Atma is not a means, Atma is not an end also. Anyway, so therefore, it doesn't, the Vedas also could not give a knowledge of Atma. And as such, if it gives a knowledge of Atma that and thereby Atma exists, well, then it becomes a prameya. But it is not like that. Then we came to Vedanta, and then we found out also that here also this Vedanta basically, or the Shastra, is a pramanam not in revealing the existence of Atma, and but Shastra has a status of pramanam because it removes the wrong notions which we have about the Atma. And that's how the Vedanta or the words of Upanishad has a pramanyam. Upanishad has a status of pramanam because it reveals the nature of Atma, which is not revealed by any other things, any other pramanam. And therefore, anadigatam, it is the definition of pramanam, all fits very well into Upanishad. Being a pramanam, it fits, the definition of pramanam fits into that. And anadigatam, Atma cannot be known by any other means of knowledge available to the human being. And then Atma, and then the second thing is abaditam also. It cannot be negated by any other means of knowledge. Perception cannot negate the nature of Atma. Why? Because it is not perceptible. The nature of Atma is such, it is not perceptible. Then how can perception negate? And therefore it is not in domain of perception, it is not in domain of inference and presumption and etc., upamanam, etc., similarity, etc. And therefore no way it can negate, other pramanas can negate. And then arthavat, definitely the nature of Atma which is revealed is something, well, that is useful. The means of knowledge called Upanishad serves a purpose, and it removes the ignorance, and thereby it removes the limitations also. The limitations, etc., is just a superimposition, and thereby it removes all these notions regarding the Atma, makes person free, and freedom from fear and freedom from sorrow and everything, and therefore it serves a purpose. Upanishad serves a purpose. Arthavat means purposeful, useful. Well, it is purposeful also, and therefore all the way Upanishad basically serves a purpose. So aprameya means this Upanishad, etc., is not revealing the existence of Atma by making you know that there is something called Atma. Well, before one operates the pramana or Upanishad, when comes to Upanishad, one gets exposed to the Upanishad, that person, conscious being, is already established. And therefore, Upanishad does not establish the existence of Atma as a knower. A knower is already there, and he goes there, and he has a confusion regarding himself. There is a self-confusion which is removed by the Upanishad. That thereby it becomes pramana. And we have also seen that I am a jiva, etc. An individual means I am a limited, as good as this body. Well, this is a natural conclusion of every person, every jiva. This is due to ignorance, and Upanishad basically serves the purpose of removing this ignorance. And if this is an error born of a self-identity, well, Shastra can resolve it, and Pramana can resolve it, and Upanishad can resolve it. So definitely it is, since it is a self-confusion or there is an error regarding the self-identity, well, then one's own Pramana cannot resolve. The Shastra does not, therefore you need an external Pramana and which can resolve this confusion. So, basically Upanishad does not bring to your recognition the Atma as an object that is totally unknown, like heaven, etc., which I talked to you yesterday, like heaven and punyam and everything. So Veda gives a knowledge of this thing also. Thereby you come to know the existence of Sarga, and you come to know the existence of Devata, you come to know the existence of Punya Papa, everything. Well, this is not the case with Atma. Atma is already existent, and it is self-existent, self-revealing, and of course there is a confusion regarding that self-existent Atma because of the self-ignorance, and therefore it only removes this part. So when the Shastra says there is a heaven, etc., heaven is an unknown thing, well, is brought to your understanding. So you come to know that there is such a thing called heaven, and when Shastra says the particular ritual will produce a particular result also, it is definitely bringing an unknown thing to your recognition. So it makes you known, and thereby that things exist also you come to know. So that the ritual has this efficacy, etc., is not known to you by any other pramana. And therefore Veda also serves this kind of a purpose, which will bring to your, which will bring to a light, which will make you known, which is not known to you otherwise. Thereby Veda also serves a purpose to make you understand, to make you know something which is unknown to you, called Swarga, etc. But at the same time, when it comes to Atma, the Shastra has Pramanatvam only insofar as it removes the superimpositions upon the Atma. So knowledge is nothing but the removal of ignorance. So if ignorance is not removed, well, there is no knowledge, and therefore, because ignorance is opposed to knowledge. So if ignorance, if ignorance is the cause for all the superimpositions, or a self-error, self-confusion, it has to go. And yet it will go by knowledge, because it is opposite. And therefore, only the removal of ignorance is necessary, and ignorance of Atma is present. Shastra has the capacity to remove, and it removes also, and thereby it establishes itself as a praman. Atma is basically self-evident, but that is limitless, is not known. It is, I am an individual. When you say I am individual, definitely I am a limited being, and then subject to all kinds of things, subject to birth, death, and this, everything. All these are notions. All are removed by Shastra and make me free, and thereby, so it serves a purpose also. So if Atma were to be totally unknown, suppose, like heaven, etc., then you would not say that you are a Sukhi or Dukhi, etc., or a Samsari. Before going to Shastra itself, you tell you lot of things about you. So means you know yourself. Otherwise, you will not know anything. But you know already, and you talk also that I am so and so, etc., etc. So you know yourself. So the Shastra does not do a job of making you unknown Atma to a known, makes it known to you. Basically, there are confusions. What you know about yourself is a confusion. That Shastra has to tell you. And removing those notions and making you know what is the reality of the self, thereby it serves a purpose, giving freedom, moksha, etc. So this is how the role of a Shastra as a pramanam is served. And Upanishad is basically giving this knowledge, self-knowledge, and removing the self-notion, removes the ignorance, and then born of that superimpositions are also there, that also is removed. Then Bhagavan says all these bodies, antavantaha, all bodies are subject to destruction, and whereas Atma, the indweller of the body, is not subject to destruction. The indweller has the word, Atma is indweller of all the bodies, has been shown by the word Shariri. Shariri means Shariram Asya Asti, one who obtains in the body, one who is indweller of the body. And that is Nityasya. So Bhagavan said that is not subject to destruction, because it is the subject, not an object. Well, and being subject, that's how Bhagavan has used the word aprameya, not an object of knowledge. It is a subject. So any object, it indicates one thing, very beautiful thing is, any object is subject to destruction. Subject is not subject to destruction. That's all. We came to know this much. And therefore, anything aprameya, anything which is object of knowledge, is nityam. Because anything which becomes an object of knowledge definitely will be in the excess of space and time. It is bound by the time. And what is bound by the time, definitely it is anityam. And therefore, since it is a subject, it's not an object of knowledge, and then it is a subject. Atma is just a subject. Well, it is not in the axis of space and time. It is not bound by the time. And what is aprameyam, what is not an object of knowledge, will be nityam. This also is a corollary we can derive from this. So Atma, which is Swata Siddha, is self-existent, and it is timeless. Swata Siddha indicates it is timeless. Swata Siddha means self-existent. What is self-existence? What is self-existence? The existence of that Atma is not dependent upon something else. That's what the self-existence is. And therefore existence is not dependent upon something else. Well, then it is not bound by the time. Otherwise, existence is dependent upon the time, like the body. Body is existing right now, but it is dependent. Its existence is dependent in time. It has come at a particular point of time, and it will go in at a particular point of time. So definitely, it will be always anityam. Body, etc., mind, everything, even the memory, even the power of our senses, everything. They are born in time, will go in time. Well, they are all objects of knowledge, and so all objects of knowledge, definitely they are called prameya, but they are anitya also. And what is not object of knowledge, well, it is subject, that is aprameya, and well, it is self-existent. Its existence is not dependent upon something else, not in time or something else. Well, that thing is nityam, that has been told. It's not subject to destruction. Then Bhagavan said lastly, Tasmad Yudhyasva Bharata. Now that much part is left over. Therefore, Arjuna, fight. What does it mean? Means there is nothing for you to be sad about. You don't want to fight because you are very sad. Nothing to be sad about, because things that are going to die, that will die. And things that remain permanent will remain permanent. Even if you think that Bhishma's Atma is going to die, well, it will not. And Bhishma body should remain all the time. So, well, that will not remain. Not today, tomorrow it will go. So, this is, therefore, give it up, this kind of a sadness, and fight. Now, very beautiful thing is this Yudhyasva, fight. So, Bhashyakara explains this, that Krishna was not giving Arjuna an order to fight. Very, very nice point has been brought out by Bhashyakara here, that Bhagavan is not telling him, not giving him a command that you fight. Bhagavan is just telling, do not entertain the idea of withdrawing from the battlefield. That's all Bhagavan wants to convey there. What is the difference between the statement fight and this? Bhashyakara says there is a difference. This Yudhyasva, actually Yudhyasva, it is a imperative mood. And imperative mood, it is not a tense. In Sanskritam, there are two things, tense and mood. Tense indicated time, present tense, past tense, future tense. Apart from it, there are ways of conveying the meaning. Well, it is called command, agnya. Bring a glass of water for me. If I say, well, it is not a tense. What tense will you attach to it? No, it is not present, it is not past. When I say, bring a water for me, well, it's a mood, it's not a tense. It doesn't indicate time. Anyway, so basically, this Yudhyasva is a mood, and that's called imperative mood. And that is a second person, second person singular, Yudhyasva. From Yudh Dhatu it has been made. Well, and so it says fight. That's all. Bring water, as I say, bring water, anaya, like that, Yudhyasva, like that it is. Uttishta, get up. So these are all commands. So here also, Bhashyakara is analyzing when Bhagavan says Yudhyasva to Arjuna, then he is really giving a command or order to Arjuna that you should fight? No. Then is it a request? No. Why it is not a request? Because Arjuna was already prepared to fight. He has come to the Mahabharata, come to the Kurukshetra for fight only. So he is not to be requested to fight. He has already come to fight. He has already prepared himself for a fighting. So he had he has come with all this armory also. But then he found himself obstructed with this sorrow and delusion, etc. We have seen that in chapter 1. When we analyze the chapter 1 in the beginning of, before we started chapter 2, at that time we analyzed the problem. Human problem is ragaha, shokaha, mohaha. There is attachment, there is a sorrow, and there is a delusion. So his mind was obstructed with these things, sorrow and this delusion, and that's how he became silent also. So he could not proceed because he was completely paralyzed with this kind of a emotion, because of basically this sorrow and the delusion. And this is very common. Whenever even we are also, when our mind is totally clouded with this sorrow just a sorrow, let us say this much. If our mind also is clouded with sorrow, we are not able to do what we are supposed to do. We could not do. We just will not get up from the chair or from whatever the place we have seated. So this delusion, sorrow, etc. will not allow the person to do what is supposed to be done. And that's what the situation of Arjuna also is. And therefore, he was no longer interested in fighting and turned his attention to something else. And then he started giving lecture to Bhagavan and showed the whole thing, in which Bhagavan was not interested. Because the problem was lying somewhere else. So then Bhagavan, all that Bhagavan was doing was removing his sorrow and delusion. That's all. Which were the obstructions in fighting. And afterwards, if the fighting was to be done, well, then it was to be done. In our case, if something else has to be done, well, it should be done. So basically, Yudhisva was not a command. It was only asking Arjuna to do what he was supposed to do. Being a Kshatriya, he has come here prepared with a prepared mind, and then adharma has prevailed, and Kshatriya's duty is to protect the dharma, and all the other means, so-called, all non-violent means are exhausted to make them understand, so that war can be avoided. Everything exhausted, and still, well, they were not agreeing. Then the question is to protect the dharma by definitely curbing this adharma. And therefore, that is his duty. So it was only asking Arjuna to do what was supposed to be done. It was a restatement, rather, they say it was a restatement of what he was planning to do. And therefore, Yudhisva should not be taken as a command. And otherwise they have interpreted Bhagavan as though is asking people to fight with each other. And that's how people take from this also. We have to fight. We have to take the weapons in our hand. Or we have to fight. At every level we have to fight because Bhagavan told Arjuna to fight. That's not the thing. So it was, and why Bhagavan should tell Arjuna to fight? Somebody said, well, he told Arjuna to fight so that, through Arjuna and Pandavas, ultimately the adharma can be curtailed. And that is how, for that purpose, Bhagavan has come down and all. Need not be. Bhagavan need not come down for this kind of, controlling the universe by this kind of thing. He has a simple virus also, he can do. With a simple virus, he can lock down the whole world just by virus. And he has many weapons in his hand. He need not come down also. He need not prompt Arjuna to fight also. Nothing he should do. By his sankalpa, the whole creation comes. Whole Brahmanda comes by his sankalpa. Swamiji, this is all talk. Well, when you prepare the entire universe in your dream, what efforts do you have? What efforts? You say the Empire State Building, and in your mind Empire State Building you create. Well, what is the effort involved? So that is how the Ishvara's creation is. Well, your mind can prepare the universe, then his mind, the Maya, his Upadhi can prepare this universe. Why not? But space-time, everything. When you create an Empire State Building, you create sun also. You are seeing Empire State Building in full sunlight. Well, so you create time, you create space, and you create objects. And within no time, you utter a word and it is there. You utter a word, need not utter a word, because in sleep, if you utter a word, then the other people will think what is happening to him. It's just a thought, and things are there. So if he in his own, by his own sankalpa, he can create universe, and he can dissolve universe. We dissolve our dream universe without any effort. He can dissolve entire universe. Well, so only thing is, Arjuna's question was an obstruction due to this delusion and sorrow, and Bhagavan wanted to remove that. That's how Bhagavan started with immediately in 11th verse, Ashocyananva Shochastva. You are grieving for something. Bhagavan has not told like that, no, you are not fighting for which you are supposed to fight. Bhagavan says, Bhagavan has seen the problem. He just told that you are grieving for something for which you should not grieve. Well, he started the teaching with that. And therefore, Bhashyakara very beautifully, so Bhagavan does not ask to fight to each other, etc. That's not the point. And Bhashyakara beautifully says that Gita Shastram is not a pravritti Shastra. And like Karma Kanda, etc., which enjoins the people to perform various, rituals, other actions, it is just a Nivrutti Shastram, Moksha Shastram. And now this Pravritti Shastra and Nivrutti Shastra, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, both are in Veda only. So I would like to give you some brief introduction to what is this Pravritti Shastra or Karma Kanda and what is this Nivrutti Shastra called Jnana Kanda. I will give you some points. And because Bhashyakara is going to raise again and again in Bhagavad Gita, and here of course he has introduced that so if you take it as a command, etc., well, then it is a part of the Veda which is called Karma Kanda. Well, this is a Nivrutti Shastra or Jnana Kanda, in which Bhagavan wants to give a knowledge, because the whole problem of a human being is because of the superimposition. Superimposition is born of ignorance, and definitely the knowledge is opposite to ignorance, and therefore Bhagavan wants to give a knowledge. So this is a part of the Veda which has a predominance of jnanam, knowledge. Therefore command, etc. is there in the Pravritti Shastra. So we cannot take it that way here. You just fight, etc. Then what is the difference between Pravritti Shastra and Nivrutti Shastra? What is the difference between Karma Kanda and the Jnana Kanda of the Veda? I will tell you briefly in a few points. And there are the differences exist between the two portions of the Veda at three levels. First thing is the subject matter of both is different. Subject matter of both the sections, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, is different. What is the subject matter? See, if the subject matter is in one thing, Bhashyakara says, Karma Kanda deals with basically Karma Kanda deals with this. Karma Kanda's subject matter is basically different means and ends. Karma Kanda deals with certain things which are sadhyam. Sadhyam is which can be accomplished. And Jnana Kanda deals with a thing which is already accomplished. Atma is already accomplished thing. So Jnana Kanda deals with something which is accomplished called Siddham. Karma Kanda deals with something which is unaccomplished called Sadhyam. Big difference. In one, the thing the things are Sadhyam. In other, it is Siddham. They are just opposite. One is dealing with Anatma. Karma Kanda deals with Anatma. It may be a Swarga, it may be a Punya Papa, it may be any Loka, anything. Or pertaining to there are various yagas which really are, which are really, makes the human being tempting, really. Because there are various yagas for getting a son, and that too, with a lot of good qualities. That kind of a yajna also is there. If you want a son, And that too with a good quality, that also is available. In Brihadaranyaka, it's Upanishad itself with the end portion, it describes. But anyway, Karmakanda basically deals with Anatma and Jnanakanda deals with Atma. Karmakanda here, and the person who is engaged in different kind of karmas is extrovert. Well, in Jnanakanda, the person who is pursuing the Atma Vastu is basically introvert. Well, Karmakanda gives you the phalam, the result which is anityam. Jnanakandam gives you phalam which is nityam. And whole Karmakanda is based on kartrutva. One who is an agent of an action, to that person only it is addressed. Whole karmas are addressed to a person who is an agent of action. Jnanakandam is dealing with the Atma, which is not an agent of action. In fact, you are told that you are not a karta. That's the knowledge. I am not an agent of an action. He is the Atma Jnana. And therefore, it is just diagonally opposite. Then, Karmakanda deals with in Karmakanda you deal with a lot of things, where there are full of relationships. Especially in Sankalpa itself, we all tell, when before doing puja, yajna, etc. In Sankalpa, Mamopata samasta durita kshaya dvara Shri Parmeshwar prityartham, etc., etc. And then you say that myself and my family and all should be benefited by this yajna, etc. They should get what they want in life, etc. So Karmakanda deals with definitely deals with full of relationship, and Jnanakandam deals with Atma, which is devoid of relationship. Atma is asanga. Well, and this is how there are many differences in terms of subject matter. Then the second difference between the two is at the level of the result also. First is called Vishaya Beda. The difference at the level of Vishaya, the subject matter, between the two sections. And now the second difference between the two sections is at the level of result of at the level of result, not result of an action. Result of action will be in the Karmakanda only. So, Karmakanda always gives a phalam or the result which is anityam, and it falls within the samsara. Jnanam gives a phalam which is nitya phalam, already accomplished. So Atma is not known as it is, and therefore there is a confusion. Well, the confusion is removed, then the self-revealing Atma is known as it is. That's all the thing is. So here we are not producing an Atma or something. And therefore Atma is really self-revealing, and Atma is Satchidananda, but not known as it is. It is known as Asat, Achit and Anananda. So that confusion is resolved. So Jnanam gives a fruit called, Jnanam gives a result which is Nityam, and etc. Other things also. Karmakanda gives a knowledge ultimately which will turn into Punarjanma, etc. also. Jnanam gives a phalam or the result which will ultimately make you free from birth and death. That's how it is. So this is the thing. At the level of result also there is a big difference between the two. And the last difference between the two sections is Pravritti Bhedah. First I have told you Vishaya Bhedah. Second layer difference is at the level of result, Phala Bhedah. And the third is Pravritti Bhedah. Because the difference in their function, both sections have a pravritti in a different, they have their activity is at a different level. Karmakanda, leads a person, basically as I told you, Karmakanda enjoins a person to perform various definitely rituals and other actions in order to gain a desired result. And this Jnanakanda is something which makes the person free from the activity. Basically, it's called Nivrutti Shastra. Nivrutti means a removal. Nivrutti means a removal, and because it just gives you the knowledge of the self, and thereby it removes the cause of the samsara, etc., removes the self confusion, removes the superimposition, and removes ultimately the ignorance also, and therefore it is called Nivrutti Shastra. Nivrutti Shastra means which removes something. What it removes which I don't want. What I don't want in my life gets removed by the Upanishads, by the Jnana Kandam, and therefore the one is called Pravritti Shastram, other is Nivrutti Shastram. So both have their own field of activity. One just gives jnanam, one gives jnanam of the means and end, and then makes the person engage in. If he is interested in that particular result, well, he makes the person engage into that action, to perform a various ritual, karmas, etc. So this is how the difference between the two is known here. So this Bhagavan, Bhashyakara says here that if you say Yudhyasva, command, etc., well, it goes to the Pravritti Shastram or the Karma Kanda, because in there are a lot of things which are told, which you are supposed to do. Satyam, Vada, Dharmam, Chara, etc. These are all Agnartha only. It's all imperative mode. Always follow the truth, etc. Same way Yudhyasva also, fight. Well, then it shows as though it is a part of the Karma Kanda. Well, that is not. This is a very big thing. It looks a very technical thing, but it's a very big thing that Jnana Kandam has its own Vishaya. Jnana Kanda has its own Vishaya, own Adhikari, everything. And so this is how the things are established here. And afterwards, so Gita Shastra's job is to remove this ignorance, which is the cause of the samsara, and samsara means is consisting of raga, shoka and moha. We have seen that this particular disease is universal in all the human beings. So, same sorrow and delusion was, that clouded the Arjuna's mind, and so Gita Shastra was given by the Lord in order to remove these two things, so that Arjuna could fight. Bhagavan was not interested to make him fight. Bhagavan was interested for Arjuna, what he was supposed to do, he should do. That's all it is. And he has come also for that, prepared. He has come, he was prepared to fight also. Something happened and he's thought of not to fight. Well, so Bhagavan wanted to remove that obstacle. That's all. So this is regarding verse 18. Now let's go to verse 19. Ya enam vetti hantaram yasyainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hanti na hanyate. Very interesting thing is this verse number 19 and verse number 20, both are from Kathopanishad. And only little difference you will find. So Bhagavan has literally bodily lifted these verses and put it little differently. If you go to Kathopanishad, you will find Hanta chet manyate hantum hataschet manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hanti na hanyate. That's in Kathopanishad. Here it is ya enam vetti hantaram yasyainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanitah nayam hanti na hanyate. There is a difference in first line only between Bhagavad Gita verse and Kathopanishad verse. Only difference in first line. In the second line they are same. Anyway, Bhagavan should not have quoted Kathopanishad. But as he had the authority, he has the authority, and he tells that he has the authority of the entire Veda in the chapter 15. Well, I will tell you that. So he had the authority to propound the vision in his own way, but he respected the Upanishads, and because it's a means of knowledge. So you should have a respect towards the means of knowledge. Whatever the means of knowledge are there, and if you are interested in that knowledge to serve a certain purpose in your life, definitely you should have respect, called Shraddha, etc. should be there. When Shraddha is there, the Pramana reveals, or the means of knowledge reveal the object. So anyway, so here whatever he says should have a sanction of the Upanishad. Bhagavan thought like that, and so that is how he quotes this. Even the verse 20 also is there here, that also is from Kathopanishad. So Bhagavan has pointed out in chapter 15, 15th verse, Vedaihi sarvaihi ahameva vedyah Vedantakrit vedavid eva aham. So Bhagavan said there, Vedaihi sarvaihi ahameva vedyah. Bhagavan said already that I am the one to be known through all the Vedas, and Vedantakrit vedavid cha aham. I am the one who initiated all the Vedas. So Vedas are just emerged from me. Vedas are the manifestation from me only, because he is a Sarvagnya, omnipotent, omniscient, and therefore basically he need not quote, but he wanted to give a pramanyam or validity to the means of knowledge for self. So through, as such, the verse that, in the 15th chapter, the 15th verse indicates he is a Ishvara. In fact, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan has established, Bhagavan has always talked as a Ishvara only, as a Lord only. Not only in that 15th chapter, 15th verse, several places. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina, etc., etc. From this entire word is pervaded by me. Well, so he is talking as a Ishvara. Many verses are there like that. So, and that is how Vyasacharya ji also always, when he starts, he will not say that Shri Krishna Uvacha. He says that Bhagavan Uvacha, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, etc. You will always find that way. So whether we accept him as a Ishvara or not, but Krishna talks as a Ishvara. So entire dialogue is in the Gita is between Ishvara in the form of Krishna and Arjuna. That's he wants a knowledge. This is how Vyasacharya ji has presented. So as a Ishvara, then Krishna naturally does not need to substantiate this statement, but he is giving a pramanyam to the Upanishad. Now the thing is, the Veda or the Upanishad, especially, is called Shruti. Why it is called Shruti? Because what is heard and received by one generation from another generation is Shruyate iti Shruti. That's how it is. So this Veda is called Shruti because it is heard and received by one generation from another generation. So that is how it is called Shruti. And what is born of someone's mind is called Smriti. Smriti. What if, like you and me are all learning now, suppose Upanishad, let's say. Then there are the subject matter of the Upanishad remains in our mind. And with the help of that, what the knowledge which is remained in our mind in terms of memory, when we teach others, then that knowledge, even though the origin is in Shruti, but that knowledge is called Smriti because it has come out of my memory. Basically, the origin of that knowledge is definitely the Shruti, but that's how the Shruti and Smriti are two things, and Bhagavad Gita falls under the category of Smriti. Naturally, because it is in Bhagavan's Smriti. Bhagavan must have learnt all this. He need not learn, but he must have gone to Sandipani, and in Sandipani Gurukulam he has learnt all these things. That's how he quotes the Shruti also. So what Krishna says here in terms of Bhagavad Gita has a status of a Smriti and not Shruti. And then why are you talking this? Because any Smriti must have the sanction of Shruti. Any Smriti must have a sanction of a Shruti. If it is against the Shruti, suppose Smriti talks something which has no sanction from the Shruti, then we have to interpret the Smriti so that it will have a concurrence with the Shruti. It has to be done that way. And if it does not conform, anyway, we've tried to interpret a little differently. If it does not conform in in all areas, from beginning to end, then we have to say sorry to Smriti. I mean, Smriti, the meaning of the Smriti is dismissed. Smriti is dismissed. That has been told in a very one beautiful karika. Shruti Smriti Param Badhe Shrutireva Gariyasi Shrutyoho Parasparam Badhe Nyayopeta Gariyasi. What it says is Shruti Smriti Param Badhe. When there is a contradiction between Shruti and the Smriti, Veda and the Smriti, like Bhagavad Gita, suppose, this is an example, between Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita, suppose there is a contradiction, suppose, then you should interpret this Bhagavad Gita in such a way that the meaning will concur with the meaning in the Upanishad. That's how it should be done. But even if you try a lot, still you cannot bring the meaning from the Bhagavad Gita which can concur with the meaning of the Upanishad. We will have to discard that particular portion of Bhagavad Gita. Shruti Smriti Param Badhe. When there is a contradiction between a Shruti, that is Veda or Upanishad, and Smriti, any Smriti Grantha. There are several Smritis, Manu Smriti and Yajnavalkya Smriti, and so many Smritis are there. And Bhagavad Gita also is considered Smriti. Well, Shruti Smriti Param Badhe, Shrutihi Eva Gariyasi. Shruti is considered Shruti is considered the best. Gariyasi means it has a status of a means of knowledge better than Smriti. And Shrutyoho Parasparam Badhe. Sometimes it happens that one Upanishad tells something and other Upanishad tells something else with regard to the same subject matter. It is happening like that. It's not in our domain right now, but it is there. This all discussion is there in Brahma Sutra. Shrutyoho Parasparam Badhe. When you find that one Upanishad tells something gets contradicted with other Upanishads regarding the same subject matter, well, then what is Nyayopeta Gariyasi? What is more logical, you will have to accept out of these two. You should interpret the other Upanishad in such a way so that it will concur with the first Upanishad. But if you cannot, then what is more logical, you should accept. And that's what in Brahma Sutra has been done. All this job is being done by Vyasacharya ji. There are several statements in the Upanishad which looks like that there is no contradiction, but looks contradictory from other Upanishad. Well, they try to interpret one of the Upanishad in such a way so that the contradiction resolves. And if contradiction does not seem to resolve, well, what is more logical, you should see. This is how it is. What is more logical, you should accept. Anyway, so this is what here it is. Anyway, so this Bhagavan also quotes from our from the Upanishad. So this being the tradition, Bhagavan in so many words confirms the Shruti, and he did not say that this is what the Shruti says. He is not telling this is what Upanishad says, but he did put the words of the Shruti in a different form here. And there are several instances, it will come ahead also, there are several instances in Gita where such verses have been taken from the Upanishad and especially from the Kathopanishad. Maybe Bhagavan must be liking Kathopanishad more, or Bhagavan must be belonging to the Krishna Yajurveda or whatever. But I don't know, somehow he has quoted the verses of Kathopanishad only. He must have studied all Upanishads. He need not study. I mean, all the Upanishads have born from him. Vedanta Krit. I am the one who has from whom all the Vedas have come. Then Upanishads also have come from them. Anyway. So this is from Kathopanishad, this particular verse. And Bhashyakara begins this commentary of this verse by saying that this verse and the next verse have been taken from Kathopanishad to support what he has been saying till before this verse 19. What has he told before that? He wanted to give a support. He need not, but he wants to give a support. He told several things about Atma. Atma is Nitya and Atma is Aprameya and Atma is Anashinah, etc. etc. Atma is something by which everything is pervaded. Atma is all pervasive. Atma is something which is self-existent, self-revealing. There was never a time, Arjuna, when Atma was not. There will never be a time when you will not be there, I will not be there, all will not be there. So, Atma is self-existent, and many things he had told from verse 12 onwards to up to 18th. As though Bhagavan wants to give a validity to that. So, Bhashyakara says this way, that the Shruti is a pramana, and that is like a, what kind of a pramana? It's like a witness. So, to validate an event that something has happened, we generally call a witness. And that's enough. That's a final one. When witness comes and says that this particular incident has occurred, that's okay. We don't bring the witness of a witness. We never do that. In court also we never do. The final thing is a witness. Then we don't say that now, who has witnessed you? We never ask this kind of a question. So, when he says, a witness says, yes, I saw this thing has happened, well, then it gets validity. Same way, to validate what Bhagavan was saying, Bhagavan has called upon the Shastra as a witness. That's all it means. Bhagavan has called upon the Shastra as a witness to give the validity to what he has said. And the Shastra Pramana has a witness status, and that's how it is Pramana. It cannot be, like the witness cannot be challenged. Same way, here in Percept, it may be possible that witness also may be challenged, but here, when the Pramana, especially the means of knowledge or the Shastra is a means of knowledge and it has been called as a witness, well, it cannot be challenged. It cannot be challenged. And if the Shruti can be contradicted by any other means of knowledge, well, it loses the Pramanya. But I already described you in the definition of Pramana. I have already told you, Pramana is something when whatever the knowledge it gives, that cannot be contradicted by other means of knowledge. That's what I told you. I am using the word abaditam. When I said anadigatam, abaditam, arthavat, bodhakam, pramanam. Abaditam means which cannot be negated, which cannot be challenged by other means of knowledge. When one means of knowledge give you knowledge, well, that cannot be contradicted, challenged by other means of knowledge, because it will not be in that domain at all. When eyes reveal a certain color, well, ears cannot challenge. Definitely it cannot challenge, because it is not in the domain. Color is not in the domain of ears. And when particular sound is heard, eyes cannot challenge. Ears say this is the sound of this. This is the sound of a wind. And ears say, eyes say, no, it is not a sound of a wind, it's a sound of car. Well, that kind of a thing is not possible. Because sound itself is not a domain of eye. Therefore, anadigatam also, that's how anadigatam. It cannot be known by other means of knowledge. Sound is known only by the ear. And therefore, the Shruti need not be validated also by any other pramana for it to be established as a pramana. Well, what Shruti gives us a knowledge regarding the self cannot be known by any other thing, including the portion of the Veda itself. Well, the earlier portion of the Veda called Karmakanda cannot tell about Atma. In fact, they take for granted the confused Atma as a reality and go ahead. Atma is taken as a Karta. There, in Karmakanda, all the rituals, etc., are addressed to a person who believes that he is a Karta. Well, if you say, if a person has realized that I am not a Karta, then he is not going to perform the action. If he sees that truth, he sees the truth that I am not an agent of an action at all. And then where is the question of doing an action? So the Karmakanda portion takes the confused self as the self, the ignorant self as the self, and goes ahead. Purposely it goes ahead. And well, here in Vedanta, it has been negated. Whole thing is negated. So the person who has come through the Karmakanda has done many rituals and he has gone to various lokas and acquired many things and he has lot of punyam, etc. and he has done a lot of prayaschitta for the papam and everything. And he knows he is going to get a better janma, etc. And And earlier Janma he was this kind, and whatever he knows about himself is knocked out by when he enters into the gate of Upanishads. Well, and therefore, what Upanishad reveals regarding the self cannot be challenged, cannot be known, cannot be contradicted by any other means of knowledge, including the earlier portion of the Veda. And therefore, Upanishad is a pramanam. That way, it has a validity. Like the witness is a final one for, a witness statement is given a validity, and and same way here also it is like a witness. That's what Bhashyakara describes in few words. So if someone says the Shruti is, and now let's talk about this last line also, that if someone says the Shruti is contradicted by his or her experiences, and well, that is true. That is true. Whatever Upanishad is going to tell you, definitely your experience is just against it. Whatever they say. And to the extent that Shruti keeps on shouting, daily Shruti keeps on shouting and shouting, you are not an agent of action, you are not an individual, you are not a jiva, you have not done any punya, you have not done any papa, you are not related to anybody. Don't tell you are a relative. You are not relative of anybody in this world. No, I am related to my son, and I am father, and I am saying, no, you are not. Well, and this birth, I'm born on so and so date, and my birth date is very, very near now, and I don't know, Swamiji, how long I live, I don't know, but anyway, I have done so many arrangements for my children, and so my death is near, and all. So Shruti just negates everything, and my experience about myself is just opposite. Now, it's up to you to go along with the Shruti or to analyze your experiences in a manner Shruti tells you to analyze. There are two things. And here the sadhana chatushtayam comes into the picture, called Shraddha, the faith in the scriptures. That my experience reveals one thing to me, while experience is a dumb thing. And therefore I should not go by that dumb experience. You are experiencing sunrise, you are experiencing blue sky, you are experiencing twinkle stars, you are experiencing blue ocean, you are experiencing sunset, you are experiencing sun is moving from one side to the other side, from east to the west. You are experiencing whatever you are experiencing. If you take it for granted, if you are not entered into the field of science, definitely you will take it for granted that that's the truth. Well, if you have a Shraddha in science and then you analyze your own experiencing, giving the validity to the science, well, you will get a knowledge. Same way Shastra also is a science. If you give a validity to it, well, then and analyze your own experience which you are taken as granted, analyze, well, through the methods called prakriyas given by the Shastra, then you will come to know, well, what I consider myself, what I was knowing regarding myself, what I was taking as myself, well, all was just a confusion. All my self-judgments are self-confusions. All my self-conclusions are self-confusions, which I told in the morning. Well, and therefore Shastra's pramanyam remains. Could you follow what I am saying? And therefore, what the Shruti says is actually not contradicted by any other means of knowledge, nor by my experience also. And my experience, my experiences, what I have concluded regarding myself is wrong. What Shastra says, what Shastra sees the self, well, I should see in the same manner, and I should analyze the way the Shastra is giving me the method. And definitely you gain self-knowledge. So this is how it goes. And now we'll start the verse from tomorrow. What this particular verse? Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.